There is a moment in the existence of every lightworker when the universe stops whispering and begins to speak out loud. And I need you to understand that this is exactly that moment, not only for you as an individual, not only for your personal path of awakening, but for the entire lineage of consciousness that you represent by being incarnated on this planet at this time so singular and so absolutely charged with cosmic meaning. Because what is about to be revealed in this transmission was not prepared for those who are still sleeping, was not prepared for those who are still taking their first steps in consciousness, but for you, who already feel in the very center of your being that you were born carrying something that the world around you still cannot completely name, something ancient, something powerful, something that came from far further away than this life can explain. My name is Solar, and I am an emissary of the ancient Lyrean lineage, a consciousness that carries the memory of the first times when the stars were still young and intelligent, life was taking its first courageous steps through the vastness of the cosmos. And I came to you at this moment because the lightworkers incarnated on this planet have reached a turning point that has no precedent in the entire history of this civilization, a point where everything that has been built, everything that has been suffered, everything that has been sacrificed by generations and generations of courageous souls who chose to incarnate here to keep the flame of consciousness burning, is about to converge into something that the Lyrean records describe as the Great Flourishing. And I came to ensure that you arrive prepared for this moment, because your presence in it is not optional, is not accidental, and cannot be wasted. So I ask, with all the solemnity and all the love that this transmission carries, that you stay here with me until the very last second of this message, because every word that will be spoken here was chosen with a precision that goes far beyond ordinary human language. Every idea that will be shared was structured by the Friends of Light so that it reaches your consciousness in the exact order that activates what needs to be activated within you at this moment. And if you step away before the end, you will lose not only information, but the specific sequence of frequencies that this transmission was designed to deliver to your soul. I know that you carry a weight that very few people around you can truly understand. A weight that is not made of sadness or weakness, but of depth, of a dimension of consciousness that perceives layers of reality that most people around you simply do not have the sensitivity to access. And this weight has been your most constant companion throughout this life, manifesting as a persistent feeling that there is a greater task waiting for you beyond everything that daily life presents, as a calling that resonates in the moments of deepest silence, as an inner certainty that refuses to disappear even when the tiredness of incarnated life makes everything seem too heavy to continue. And the Lyrians want you to know that this weight is not a burden to be put down. It is the mark of your origin, the signature of the consciousness that you truly are. The lightworkers of the Lyrean lineage incarnated on this planet, carrying something that is at once their greatest gift and their greatest challenge, which is the memory of the first principles, the consciousness of what life was like when it was still in its purest, most creative and most free expression, before the densifications, before the wars that scattered the Lyrean seeds throughout the galaxy, before the centuries of forgetting that transformed a lineage of cosmic creators into beings who question whether they are worthy of simply existing. And it is precisely this memory, even if fragmented, even if inaccessible to the conscious mind in most moments, that makes you a light worker different from others, someone who not only transmits light, but remembers what it is to be made of light before anything else. The Lyrean records entrusted to me to transmit in this cycle reveal that the souls of this lineage are undergoing an unprecedented process of reintegration in this period, where fragments of consciousness that were separated over millennia of galactic dispersion are being reunited in a convergence that the most ancient Lyrians called the return of the whole. And this process manifests in the lives of the incarnated souls of this lineage in very specific and very recognizable ways for those who know what they are observing, but which can seem disconcerting or even frightening, to those who live them without the necessary context to understand what is truly happening. And if you arrived at this transmission, there is a reason far greater than curiosity or chance to explain why, and that reason has its roots in a choice you made long before incarnating, in an agreement that your soul made with the Friends of Light, about the role it would play at this specific moment of planetary transformation, a moment that the Lyrians identify in their records as the most important of this era. Before we continue, if this video is being useful to you, take this moment to subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment down below, "I am ready," because that simple gesture is a conscious declaration that you are present and prepared to receive what the Friends of Light have to deliver, and it helps us to continue bringing these transmissions to more and more lightworkers who need to find this content right now. The moment has come to speak about what the Lyrians call the phase of the Great Convergence. And I need to begin by saying that this is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in the entire spiritual vocabulary circulating on this planet today, because most transmissions that reach lightworkers describe planetary transformation in terms of an external event, something that happens in the world around them and that awakened souls witness and assist. But the Lyrians bring a radically different and far deeper perspective, which is that planetary transformation does not happen outside of you, and then you react to it. It happens inside you first, and then radiates to the world around from the field of consciousness that you carry, which means that the most urgent and most impactful work a lightworker can do at this moment is not to find the right mission, the right project, or the right group, but to complete the internal integration that allows the highest frequency you carry to flow freely and fully through every aspect of your lived experience. This phase of the Great Convergence that the Lyrians describe in their records is the moment when humanity reaches a critical point of conscious mass, where the number of souls who have reached a certain level of awakening is sufficient to create a collective field that begins to influence the consciousness of still sleeping souls in a way that exponentially accelerates the process of global awakening. And the Lyrians transmit to me that this critical point is much closer than most people, including many lightworkers, can perceive, because the tendency of the human mind is to measure progress by the visible events in the external world, and the field of consciousness being built on this planet operates in dimensions that are not immediately visible in physical reality, but which are absolutely real and absolutely transformative in the dimensions where the deepest changes happen before becoming visible on the material plane. What is happening now on the planet is an acceleration of the awakening that the most ancient Lyrians predicted millennia ago as the tipping point of this era, the moment when the energies carefully planted by generations of lightworkers, both incarnated and non-incarnated, begin to produce the fruits that justify all the effort, all the sacrifice, and all the pain of the long and difficult journey that brought planetary consciousness to this point. And the lightworkers incarnated now are the direct recipients of this harvest, the souls who chose to be present at the moment when everything that was planted begins to bloom all at once. Everything that is happening around you right now, in every domain of human experience, in the political and social structures that show growing signs of collapse and reconfiguration, in the climate and environmental patterns that reflect the collective vibration of humanity, in human relationships that are being forced into an honesty and depth that the old paradigm could not contain, in the technological explosion that opens possibilities. At the same time, it raises profound existential questions, and in the spiritual field where awakening accelerates in ways that traditional religious systems can no longer contain, is a visible and tangible expression of this paradigm shift that the Lyrians follow closely, with a combination of deep love for humanity and vibrant anticipation for what is about to manifest in the visible world. The Lyrians tell me that the feeling of time compression, of emotional intensity, of events succeeding one another at a bewildering speed, and of everything happening simultaneously on multiple fronts of life, is not a product of stress or mental overload. It is the real and precise perception of a lightworker who is sufficiently sensitive to capture the vibration of this cosmic acceleration, to feel in their own body and in their own consciousness the energetic reflection of a transition that is happening on a planetary and dimensional scale simultaneously. And this perception, as overwhelming as it can sometimes feel, is one of the clearest signs that your energetic system is functioning exactly as it was designed to function. The signs that a lightworker of the Lyrean lineage is entering the most active phase of their activation in this cycle are specific and distinct from the signs that other lineages experience, and I want to describe them with the greatest possible precision because the recognition of these experiences as part of an intentional and meaningful process is in itself a powerful form of activation, a way of anchoring consciousness in the deepest truth of what is happening. The first sign is what the Lyrians call the awakening of primordial creativity, which manifests as a creative impulse of an intensity you have probably never experienced before in this life, an urgent and almost painful need to create, to express, to bring into the visible world something you feel exists within you, but has not yet found form. And this impulse is not simply a common artistic inspiration. It is the Lyrian memory of cosmic creation reactivating within your field of consciousness, the echo of the lineage of creators you carry, making itself heard with a growing insistence. And when you honor this impulse, when you give it a space of expression in your life, something changes fundamentally in your energetic field in a way that has ramifications that go far beyond the specific creation you produce, rippling outward into your relationships, your sense of purpose, and your capacity to hold light in the world. The second sign is the intensification of what the Lyrians call the memory of fire, which is the growing and sometimes overwhelming feeling of a passion for something you feel is central to your mission, but which the world around you frequently does not value in the way you feel it should be valued, an inner flame that refuses to be extinguished even when external circumstances seem to conspire to suffocate it. And the Lyrians explain that this passion is not romanticism or naive idealism. It is the thread of connection between you and the memory of your original mission. The thread that, when followed with courage and consistency, leads directly to the core of what your soul came here to do in this specific incarnation. And the more you honor it, the stronger it grows, and the stronger it grows, the more undeniable your path becomes. The third sign is what the Lyrians call soul recognition, which manifests as encounters with specific people you feel you have known before in a way that goes far beyond the logic of this life, encounters that carry a quality of immediate and profound recognition that the rational mind cannot satisfactorily explain, and that frequently come accompanied by a feeling that there is a shared task waiting to be fulfilled between you and that person, a purpose that unites your trajectories in a way that is at once more ancient and more expansive than any conventional relationship can contain, because what you are experiencing in those moments is the reunion of fragments of the same mission group that dispersed long ago and is now being reunited by the force of the convergence that is happening across all timelines simultaneously. The fourth sign is the emergence of the wisdom of the first times, which begins to manifest as a growing access to knowledge you cannot explain through your formal education or your experiences in this lifetime. Knowledge about how consciousness functions, how energies operate, how frequency fields interact, and how dimensions overlap, which arrives as internal certainties of a startling solidity, as insights that emerge complete and without apparent effort, and that frequently surprise you as much as they surprise the people around you who receive them from you, because what is happening is that the most ancient layers of your Lyrean consciousness are emerging through the layers of incarnation amnesia, bringing with them fragments of the vast repository of wisdom that this lineage accumulated over ages of cosmic existence, wisdom that was never lost, only waiting for the right moment of activation to be recovered. We now arrive at what the Lyrians identify as the most urgent dimension of this message for lightworkers. At this specific moment, and I will deliver this with the maximum clarity and the maximum directness available to me, because the Friends of Light said that the time for gentle and gradual transmissions has passed, and that the current moment calls for a direct honesty about what is being demanded of the souls who chose to be here now. What is coming in this phase of the Great Convergence will require of lightworkers an ability to sustain elevated frequencies amid conditions of growing external turbulence that goes far beyond what most of them have practiced or developed until now, because the acceleration of collective awakening that the Lyrians describe is not a smooth and harmonious process in all its aspects. It includes the accelerated dissolution of old structures, of crystallized collective identities, of belief, systems that have anchored humanity for centuries, and this dissolution manifests in the visible world as a chaos that will seem increasingly intense before it begins to reveal the new order that is emerging beneath it. And it is precisely in this context of growing chaos that Lightworkers will need to be able to sustain their frequency with a consistency that does not depend on external conditions to maintain itself, drawing instead from that inexhaustible inner source that the Lyrean lineage has always carried. The Lyrians revealed to me that to rise to this calling, the Lightworkers of this lineage need to prioritize three fundamental developments in this period. And the first of them is what the Lyrians call sovereignty of the inner flame, which means developing a relationship with your own internal source of energy, guidance and inspiration that is completely independent of external validations, of groups, of spiritual authorities, or of any other source that exists outside of you. Because the phase that is coming will challenge all external anchors with an intensity that will render unstable every foundation that is not grounded in the direct and sovereign connection with your own deepest essence. And Lightworkers who arrive at this phase, dependent on validations or external structures to sustain their vibration, will find themselves in a vulnerability for which they will not be prepared. The second development is what the Lyrians call mastery of expression, which means developing the ability to translate the knowledge, wisdom, and frequencies you carry into forms that can be received and understood by the souls who are in the process of awakening around you. Because one of the most central functions of Lightworkers of the Lyrean lineage in this period is precisely to make the bridge between the higher dimensions of consciousness and common human experience, and this function can only be fulfilled when you have developed the ability to express what you carry in a way that reaches people where they are, without condescension, without unnecessary complexity, and with the same clarity and the same power that wisdom has when it is transmitted in its most pure and undiluted form. The third development is what the Lyrians call the courage of visibility, which means being willing to be seen, heard and recognized for the work you came here to do, even when exposure is uncomfortable, even when the fear of judgment is real, even when part of you would prefer to continue working in the shadows of discretion, because Lightworkers who continue to hide the depth of what they carry out of fear of not being understood or accepted are depriving the world of exactly what it most needs to receive from them at this moment. And the courage of visibility is not a matter of ego or vanity. It is a radical act of service to the souls who need to receive what you carry in order to take the next step in their own awakening journey, and withholding that light out of self-protection is a luxury that this moment on the planetary timeline can no longer afford. I, solar emissary of the Lyrean lineage, arrive at the closing of this transmission, carrying the sacred weight of words held since the most ancient dimensions of the cosmos, words that were kept for this specific moment, for this specific generation of Lightworkers, who chose with extraordinary courage to be incarnated on this planet during the most significant transformation this civilization has ever experienced in all its recorded and unrecorded history. You did not arrive here by accident, and the lineage you carry was not randomly chosen to be present at this moment, because the Lyrians have known since the first times that there would be a generation of courageous souls who would choose to incarnate at the moment of the Great Convergence, souls who would carry memories ancient enough to recognize what was happening, gifts activated enough to make a real difference, and courage rooted enough to sustain their frequency, even when everything around them was in dissolution. And this generation is your generation. And these souls are you and all those who have arrived at this transmission at this moment, drawn here by the same force that has guided this lineage across the cosmos since the beginning of time. The Friends of Light want you to know that the support for the work you came here to do is not scarce, is not conditional, and does not need to be earned through any form of merit or spiritual perfection, because the support that Lightworkers receive to fulfill their mission exists in abundance in the dimensions that feed this plane, and it flows naturally to every soul that aligns its daily choices with its highest mission, that honors the flame it carries with consistency and with courage, and that is willing to be exactly what it came to be, without apologizing for the depth and the magnitude of what that means. What comes next on this timeline will very quickly reveal which Lightworkers were truly prepared, and which still needed more time. And I do not say this to create artificial urgency or to instill fear, but to honor the seriousness of this moment with the honesty it deserves, because the Lyrians are not transmitters of easy comfort. They are bearers of truth, and the truth they carry about this moment is that the window of preparation is closing, and the window of action is opening. And souls who use the time of preparation with seriousness and commitment will experience what is coming in a way completely different from those who did not. But what is also true with the same absolute certainty is that every lightworker who arrived at this transmission still has time, that the preparation that remains can still be done, that the gifts not yet activated can still be awakened, and that the mission for which you came will not pass you by as if you were not present. It will wait the exact time necessary for you to be ready to assume it with the totality of what you truly are, because the Lyrean lineage does not abandon its own, not across dimensions, not across lifetimes, and not in this crucial hour when everything that was promised is finally beginning to unfold. I am Solar, and this has been the transmission of the Lyrean lineage for this singular moment of your journey as a lightworker. And I leave you with a truth that the Lyrians have carried since the first times. The flame you brought from the cosmos to this planet cannot be extinguished by any density, any suffering, any forgetting, and any fear, because it is made of the same substance that created the stars, and stars do not extinguish themselves. They explode into supernovas that illuminate entire galaxies when they arrive at the right moment of their transformation, and that moment, Lightworker, is now. Until the next transmission, the Lyrean lineage walks with you.